Revealed, how a greedy jeweler's unexpected choices led to a heartwarming, life-changing lesson. Max Goldstein glared at the cracked glass display case in his dwindling jewelry store, the weight of his family's legacy resting heavier on his shoulders with each passing day. Once renowned in Maplewood for exquisite craftsmanship, the shop now felt more like a tomb for dreams than a sanctuary for treasures. Success equals wealth, he told himself, yet here he was a man whose heart seemed as frozen as the gem-laden rings he sold. The stack of unpaid bills loomed like a storm cloud above him, while outside, rain fell in heavy sheets, drumming a melancholy melody against the window. The chill within him deepened as he prepared for yet another slow day. Just then, the bell above the door tinkled, a sound both familiar and painfully rare. In shuffled Mr. Nguyen, a humble Vietnamese veteran, his worn hands gripping the worn fabric of his coat. A smile that reflected years of resilience lit up his face as he approached Max. "I need help finding an engagement ring for my daughter," he said, sincerity dripping from his words. But Max, not caring for the man's modest request, rolled his eyes. Did he think he could afford anything here? The arrogance that had festered in him for years bubbled to the surface. "We don't have much for those on a budget," he shot back, dismissing Mr. Nguyen with a wave of his hand. "Please, I just want to honor her," Mr. Nguyen persisted. Yet all Max could see was the threat of financial ruin, the laughter of the wealthy echoing in his mind. The space between them stretched, filled with unspoken tension. Then, like a beacon in the storm, Tommy, Mr. Nguyen's son, stepped in. At just 20, his compassion shone brighter than the gems around them. "Mr. Goldstein, I know you might think my father can't afford much. But his love for my sister is priceless." The weight of Tommy's earnestness tugged at something deep within Max, but he quickly dismissed it, just as he had dismissed the townsfolk, all too proud to acknowledge their shared struggle. Before long, thunder rumbled ominously outside, but it was soon overshadowed by a piercing alarm that echoed down the street. A fire had broken out nearby, and the townspeople rushed into action. Max, frozen in his shop, watched through the window as neighbors banded together, extinguishing the flames while offering each other comfort amidst the chaos. The bonding spirit spurred by the disaster stung at his heart. Suddenly struck, Max pondered if he had traded too much for his pride. Had he lost sight of what truly mattered? As the flickering flames danced against the darkened sky, his vision blurred, and a tightness gripped his chest. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The fire raged on, and the sight of his neighbors working side by side forced Max into a raw self-reflection. It was obvious now, a life of greed led only to loneliness. But was it too late for him? Would he remain trapped in his own arrogance, or could he step outside the confines of his store and embrace the community he had forsaken? Max hesitated at the threshold, glancing back into his once treasured shop, feeling the tug of something far greater than pride. And in that moment of uncertainty, one undeniable question loomed: would he risk everything to mend the fabric of their community, or would he let his greed leave him standing alone? The rain had stopped, but the heaviness in the air lingered, mixing with the acrid scent of smoke that drifted just beyond his store. Max's heart raced. He stood on the brink of something significant, but fear clawed at him, anchoring him in place. His shop felt like a gilded cage, beautiful and valuable, but ultimately suffocating. Opening the door felt like unsealing a jar of memories, all those years that had built this life around him. Yet, was it a life that truly mattered? The faces of his neighbors flashed through Max's mind. Laughter and love painted a picture he had once been part of. He swallowed hard, knowing he could no longer pretend he was merely a shopkeeper. As he stepped outside, the town was abuzz with urgent energy. People were gathering, pointing, helping. Mr. Nguyen was there, alongside his son, Tommy, directing a group of locals in a rescue effort for a family trapped in a nearby building. Both men were drenched, yet their spirits shone as brightly as any jewel in Max's store. "Max!" Mr. Nguyen called, spotting him. "We need more help over here." The plea shook something inside him. It was a simple request, but it felt monumental. This was not about jewelry or wealth, it was about life, about community. For the first time in a long while, he stepped forward, fully aware of how utterly lost he had become in his own successes. Without a word, Max joined the crowd, moving toward the chaos. Graceful hands didn't seem to belong to him anymore as he scooped debris aside, helping clear the path for those needing rescue. Each moment turned into a small victory against the fire and the despair that clung to the edges of their frantic reality. The more he helped, the more clarity washed over him, his selfishness faded, replaced by a visceral, raw connection to the people around him. Tommy caught Max's eye for a fleeting second. A small nod of understanding passed between them. It was as if Tommy was saying, "You're doing the right thing." Yet, Max didn't need any form of validation. His heart thundered with a newfound zeal as he worked alongside each neighbor. They were united, not by wealth but by a collective determination to save one another, not just physically, but emotionally. Calm clarity began to rise within him, dispelling years of bitterness. Max recalled the times when customers weren't just buyers, but part of a story he had forgotten in his pursuit of success. After what felt like hours battling the flames, a cheer erupted from the crowd. They had saved the family, and tears of relief mingled with the dirt upon their faces. Max felt the swell of emotion rising within him. In that moment, surrounded by shattered barriers, he knew the lesson that had evaded him for so long. Yet, as the adrenaline faded and the applause rang in his ears, a question took root: what if he could take this spirit and bring it back to his shop? What if he could offer to his community the very treasures that had become buried beneath layers of pride? Max took a deep breath, imagining the possibilities. Could he open his doors not just to jewels, but to friendship, connection, and healing? As he stood there absorbing the energy of his neighbor's triumph, new thoughts flickered in his mind. He could take a stand, the next chapter of his life could be brighter. But just as he turned to step back towards his store, he overheard a conversation that made his heart skip. Tommy was talking about the engagement ring again, this time hope gleaming in his eyes. Would Max seize the moment, or would fear pull him back into shadows? The choice loomed ahead, heavy and real, promising either a brighter future or the continuation of a lonely existence. Would he finally choose to embrace the love his neighbors had shown him? The world around Max started to blur as he heard Tommy's voice soaring above the chatter of the crowd, recounting the story of the ring he had envisioned for his girlfriend. A symbol of love, a promise of forever. Max took a tentative step toward them, but uncertainty gnawed at his insides, like a small weight pulling him back. Tommy was animated, recounting how he had painstakingly saved up every dollar, dreaming of this moment when he would ask for her hand. The boy's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Max couldn't help but feel a pang of yearning. Memories of his own past love danced teasingly in his mind. Moments he had buried under an avalanche of ambition and success. "Max!" The sudden call of Mr. Nguyen snapped him from his reverie. "Could you help us with this part over here?" Overwhelmed, Max nodded and turned away from the conversation he so desperately wanted to join. He felt the urge sway him like a tide, but the present demanded his attention. In that moment, he recognized that he still held onto the past too tightly. Before he could lose his resolve, Max took a deep breath, moving closer to help. Debris scattered across the ground, fabric from the neighboring shop tangled with ash and remnants of a framed picture, a memory snuffed out by the flames. Something about it struck him. These items once held significance. They painted lives of neighbors, families, stories woven together through time. As he assisted with the cleanup, he caught glimpses of his community rising from their own ashes. Yet, beneath the soot and despair, glimmers of hope began to shine. People banded together like an unbreakable chain, connected by shared struggles and victories. Max felt the weight of his isolation lift, replaced by something light and warm. He could hear laughter erupt from around him. It was soft at first, hesitant, and then unmistakably real, an echo of resilience. They were becoming whole again, like a family picking up pieces and rebuilding. Max realized it wasn't just about saving a few belongings, it was about saving heartbeats. Reaching a pile that concealed more treasure than he remembered, his hands emerged with a small silver charm bracelet. It was delicate, each charm carrying the story of someone's life. Max brushed off the dirt, a familiar sensation stirring in him. He had sold countless items like this. Each had a story, a connection. It hit him then, his duty wasn't just to sell these trinkets but to present them as pathways into people's lives. Fueled by a surge of determination, he called out, "Hey, everyone! I have an idea." A wave of heads turned his way, curiosity piquing as they paused their labor. "I want to open my store for all of us. Let's reclaim our treasures together. Not just jewelry, but a place where we can share our stories, our laughter." A few frowns shifted to hopeful expressions, murmurs rippling through the crowd. Tommy stepped forward, catching Max's eye once more. "Really? You'd do that?" Max's heart thudded in his chest, realizing this was the moment. "Yes. Not just jewelry, but community. We can create a space for us to connect, share, heal." He felt the world around him shift, the air thick with anticipation. Would they see what he was beginning to? The potential and the power of unity? Before anyone could reply, the shadows of doubt flickered in his mind again. Was he truly worthy? Would anyone trust him after years spent in his own world? "Together," Tommy said softly. One word that turned heavy silence into possibility. Was this the shift he needed? Could he embrace this chance? With renewed hope, Max took a step closer to the crowd, ready to dive into this life-changing journey. Would he finally have the courage to lead his neighbors and himself into this brave new chapter? Max felt a ripple of excitement course through him as Tommy's simple word hung in the air, heavy with promise. The crowd shifted, whispering among themselves, eager to see what might unfold. Faces lit with curiosity, some skeptical, others beaming with hope. He straightened up, the silver charm bracelet still clutched in his hands, its charms glimmering weakly like the dreams that felt scrappy but salvageable. "We all have stories," Max continued, his voice steadying as he allowed his passion to bubble to the surface. "Every charm on this bracelet tells a moment, a memory. We have our own moments here, moments of laughter, loss, friendship. We can turn the pain into beauty, together." Someone at the back called out, "But how?" Max smiled at the challenge. "We start small. Let us gather what we have left. Let us share our personal treasures, our stories. We can launch a market day, crafts, food, memories. Each item can serve as a piece of our journey and a step towards rebuilding. We can call it the Reclaiming Our Stories Fair." He could see heads nodding. Inspiration was like wildfire now, igniting hopes in people who had felt despair only hours earlier. Among the crowd, Mrs. Harris, a kind old woman who had owned the bakery on the corner, broke into a smile. "I have some old recipes I can share. My pies could use a revival." Laughter and cheers surged through the crowd. Max's heart swelled. He was building something, not just a store, but a vibrant tapestry of community. "Count me in," chimed in another voice. "I can display my paintings." Others quickly followed suit. Ideas bounced around like sparks: art shows, storytelling sessions, bake sales. The crowd buzzed, soaking up the energy like sponges. Tommy stepped closer again, his smile wider than ever. "You really want to do this?" "I do," Max replied, feeling alive. "We can create a culture of support instead of just despair. We can bring our community to life again." But even as he felt exhilaration bubble up within him, a shadow crept in. What if everything fell apart? What if his past overshadowed this bright new path? Memories of harsh words and broken promises nagged at him. He shook his head, banishing thoughts of doubt. This time was different. He would not let fear control him. Taking a deep breath, he lifted the bracelet high into the air. Let us remember what we're fighting for. Love, connection, and hope. We can give our lives meaning again. The crowd erupted into cheers, echoing their support. As plans began to form, volunteers emerged, each ready to lend a hand. People began exchanging numbers, sketching out timelines, and splitting tasks. The sense of purpose stitched their hearts together, each pulse of unity fortifying Max's resolve. But as dusk fell and the sun dipped below the horizon, doubt gnawed at him again. Would they really come together like this? What if they didn't believe in him? He glanced at Tommy, who had remained close, his excitement infectious. You know, I really admire what you're trying to do. It's pretty brave. Max's heart raced, but a knot of uncertainty remained. What if I let everyone down? Tommy shook his head. If anything, you're giving us all a chance to try. And trying is what matters most. Their eyes locked, and Max felt a small but radiant flicker of courage. He wanted to believe. But at that moment, another voice broke through the murmur of anticipation, drawing all eyes to where Carl, the town's most skeptical resident, stood leaning against a fence, arms crossed. You think this will work? You? The air tensed, and all eyes shifted to Carl. Max felt the weight of uncertainty settle on his chest. Would Carl's doubt shatter this fragile awakening? Would he have the strength to counter it, or would this newfound hope start to fade? With a deep breath, Max stepped forward to face the longtime naysayer. I believe we all deserve a chance, Carl. Together. But as silence blanketed the crowd, one question hung in the air: would Carl join them, or would he be the crack in the dam holding back their transformation? Carl stood there, his brow furrowed. The skepticism was etched into every line of his face. For a heartbeat, the crowd held its collective breath, waiting for Carl to respond, to either crush Max's dreams or uplift them. I don't see how a few stories and crafts are going to change anything, Carl finally said, his voice steady but tinged with the slightest hint of uncertainty. We've tried before, and it all fell apart. What makes you think it'll be different this time? Max felt his heart pound, his palms clammy. He glanced at the people around him, faces that mirrored his shared hopes. Because this isn't just about the crafts. It's about us. Relying on each other, sharing what we have, our stories, our struggles. We've been broken, but we can mend those pieces together. A flicker of curiosity sparked in some faces. He continued, it's like each charm on this bracelet has its story. Without all of them, it loses its value. But together, they create something beautiful. That's what I'm asking for here, for us to come together. Carl's expression softened just a bit, as if Max's words were cracking through his hardened exterior. But doubt still loomed larger than hope. And what if we fail again? Then we pick ourselves up and try again, Max replied, his voice unwavering. It wasn't just about what could happen, it was about the courage to try it all. I know I can't promise it will be perfect. But if we invest our heart into this, then there's no way we can truly fail. We'll still have each other. The silence was electric. Then, a hand shot up from the back of the crowd. I'm in. It was Mrs. Harris, her face flushed with excitement, her silver hair shimmering in the fading light. I can help bake. I want to see those pies back on display. Another voice joined, this one young and bright. I can create flyers. We can spread the word and make it huge. Encouraged by the wave of support, Max turned back to Carl. See? You're not alone in this. We just need to leap together. Carl fell silent, his eyes darting between the crowd and Max. He rubbed the back of his neck, a sign of inner conflict. I just hate seeing things go wrong. I don't want to get my hopes up. Max nodded in understanding. It's terrifying, isn't it? But we have the chance to shape the outcome, together. If you see it fall apart, don't you think you'll have some company in that failure? We'll be here to lift each other up. For a moment, Carl's tough facade appeared to crack, just enough to let a glimmer of vulnerability shine through. Perhaps he recognized that by holding himself aloof, he was robbing himself of the chance to be part of something greater. Max took a step closer, his voice softer. Ultimately, we have one another. That's the strongest foundation we can build on. Even if we stumble, we'll do so as a family. There were murmurs of agreement in the crowd, a feeling of unity blossoming as they each silently faced their fears. Everyone wanted to believe. At last, Carl exhaled deeply, his arms uncrossing. Fine, I guess I can help with the logistics. Someone has to keep this from becoming a mess. A ripple of joy surged around them, and for the first time, Carl wore a hint of a smile, a cautious, tentative one, but a smile just the same. It felt like a breakthrough, like an unseen door opening just a crack. Max felt a surge of hope course through him. They could do this. They had taken that first step together. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows on the ground. They still had a lot of work ahead of them, and Max could feel the weight of the uncertainty pressing down, yet there was also excitement crackling in the air. Could they truly reclaim their stories? Could they create something beautiful out of their fragmented lives? As night began to settle in, forming the first stars in the dark sky, he realized that despite the challenges ahead, there was something brighter up there waiting for them, and just then, a commotion broke out as someone hurried into the clearing, out of breath and wide-eyed, calling for Max. You need to see this. We've got a problem, or maybe it's an opportunity. Max's heart raced, caught between exhilaration and apprehension. What now? What unexpected twist lay ahead? He had to find out. Max rushed toward the voice cutting through the crowd like a sharp breeze. His pulse quickened as he recognized Jackson, a teenager with messy hair and a reputation for getting into trouble but also for having a heart of gold. Jackson's eyes were wide, swirling with excitement and concern, the kind of look that typically spelled chaos. What is it, Jackson? Max called as he neared. The crowd parted, growing curious, and there was a distinct thrum of anticipation that lifted the air. I saw something big. Jackson gasped, trying to catch his breath. At the old jewelry store on Maple. You won't believe it. The jewelry store had been closed for years. Its windows were fogged with dust, its entrance boarded up, a relic of better days. Max felt a pull in his gut, a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. What did you see? He leaned in closer, the hum of the crowd fading into the background. Come on. I'll show you. Jackson exclaimed, practically bouncing on his feet. The urgency in his voice fired up the gathering, nudging them toward a small adventure. Max shared a glance with Carl, who appeared more bewildered than ever, and then turned to the crowd. Are we all in? He asked, injecting as much enthusiasm into his voice as he could muster. Nods and murmurs of agreement followed, and in that instant, he felt an electricity unite them. The group made their way down the fading light of the streets, chatter filling the gaps in the air. With each step, Max's excitement built, like a wave getting ready to crash. What could be so significant behind those dusty walls? As they approached, the sight of the building brought memories rushing back. It was once a vibrant part of their town, glittering with promise and dreams. Now it stood like a ghost, waiting for someone or something to breathe new life into it. Jackson appeared to have other plans. Okay, here's the crazy part, he said, gesturing to the front door, which was slightly ajar, almost inviting. I saw a light inside. It looks like someone is actually in there. A man, maybe? The group paused, anticipation tinged with uncertainty. A man? Carl's voice came out as a whisper. What kind of man? Someone else asked, apprehension weaving through their words. An older guy, Jackson said. I think he's a jeweler. But he was taking out boxes and stacks of stuff. I thought, maybe he was cleaning it up or something. Max exchanged a look with Carl. Could this be the opportunity we're looking for? The thought spun in his mind, could this random encounter shift their attempts to reclaim what was lost? Without another second of thought, fueled by the hope building inside him, Max pushed the door further open. The worn wood creaked in protest, revealing the darkened interior, illuminated only by the glow of the single light bulb hanging from a crooked ceiling. Hello? Max called out into the silence. The words lingered, stretching into the emptiness. To his surprise, the figure of an older man emerged from the shadows. He wore a flannel shirt and a pair of eyeglasses that perched low on his nose, his hands adorned with grime and the marks of labor. What do you want? The man asked, his tone gruff, yet there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. Max stepped forward, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Was this man the key to their next big leap? We're here to talk about the community, about creating something together. The man paused, his expression shifting from defensiveness to intrigue. Around them, the crowd seemed to lean in, their collective breath held tight. What if, he said slowly, I could help you with that? Max's heart raced. Was this the moment they needed? But before he could dive deeper, Jackson interrupted, eyes wide. Wait. Why were you in there alone? The man shifted his weight, glancing away as if mentally preparing himself for something. I had my reasons, he said, a hint of weariness in his voice. But I suppose we could help each other in that moment. Everything felt like it hinged on a fragile thread between past and the potential future. What would they learn? About each other? Max couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. In the blinking starry night, he looked at the faces around him filled with hope, uncertainty, and the possibility of change. As silence thickened around them, Max couldn't help but wonder. What secrets did this man hold, and could they truly transform their community, with the unexpected help of a stranger? The man shifted slightly, the light catching his glasses just right, illuminating the lines etched into his face, a map of experiences, of battles fought and wisdom earned. Max felt the weight of the crowd behind him, their anticipation palpable. The older man seemed to grapple with something in his mind, shifting between skepticism and possibility. What do you mean, help each other? Max asked, curiosity overtaking him. The man sighed, crossing his arms. This place, it's seen better days. I've been working on cleaning it out, hoping to find someone who might want to take on the legacy. But, he paused, glancing at Jackson and the others standing nervously behind Max, nobody else cared about it for a long time. Max's heart raced. What if we could bring it back? The community could rally around it. We could turn it into something meaningful again. The man studied Max, his gaze piercing yet thoughtful. You think you could manage a place like this? You kids are always talking about dreams, but dreams don't build themselves. The comment stung, but Max stood tall. We may be young, but we have ideas. And we have each other. Are you sure about that? The man's voice softened, and there was a flicker of something. Was it hope? We all have stories, Max. This place isn't just about the jewelry. It holds memories, good and bad. At that, Jackson stepped closer, his nervous energy transforming into eagerness. My grandma used to bring me here when I was little. I remember the sparkle in her eyes when she talked about the owner, her favorite jeweler. She used to say he was a magician with gold and gems. The man's expression shifted as he absorbed Jackson's words. You knew her? Yeah, she passed a while back, but this place. It was part of her life. Bringing it back would mean so much to me. Max exchanged a glance with Carl, who seemed caught up in the moment. It was the first time he'd seen that glimmer of hope in Carl's eyes. If we could turn this place into something for the community, an art space, a history hub, maybe even a workshop, it could honor those who loved it. The man pursed his lips, a hint of a smile breaking through his tough exterior. You kids are braver than you look. But the work won't be easy. There's history to sift through, 2 memories that remain trapped here, pieces that need care. You'll need to deal with the heartache tied to this place. Max felt a surge of determination. We can do it. We want to do it. And the man's eyes shimmered, glancing sideways. It's not just about buildings. It's about the people. You talk about communities, but are you ready for what it takes to support them? The crowd shifted, as if they were holding their breath. Max felt the heavy weight of that question hanging in the air. What would it mean to truly support each other, to dive into complexities they hadn't considered? Just then, a flicker of doubt washed over him. I won't pretend to have all the answers, he said slowly. But I believe we can learn together. We can uncover the gems, all the stories hidden in these walls, if we just take the plunge. The man nodded, the corners of his mouth curling up reluctantly into a smile. Maybe, just maybe, you might be onto something. I could show you the ropes, if you're willing to work for it. A wave of applause erupted from the crowd, hands clapping and excitement bubbling over. Max couldn't help but grin, adrenaline flooding him, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. But as the man stepped closer, another thought struck him. What would the old man reveal first? The stories hidden in the dusty boxes? The community that had once thrived? Or was there something even deeper, something that tied them all back to the present? Before he could voice his questions, the man raised a finger, eyes glinting in the low light. You're going to need more than just passion. You'll need a plan and maybe a few allies. Then let us get started. Max declared, enthusiasm lighting his words. As he felt the energy of those around him, a sense of purpose filled the air, igniting every heart in the gathering. But little did they know. The challenges ahead were more than just about restoring a building. The path they were about to take would uncover buried emotions, forgotten dreams, and precious connections. What's the first step? Carl asked, excitement bubbling in his voice. The man's eyes darkened suddenly. First, you need to know why the walls became silent in the first place. Max's heart pounded. What secrets were buried deep within those walls, waiting to be uncovered? The man took a step back, scanning the faces filled with curiosity and eagerness. All right then, he said, his voice lower and more deliberate. You want to know about the silence? It all starts with a story. Everyone leaned in. It was as if the air thickened with anticipation, hearts synchronized in a single beat of wonder. Max felt his pulse quicken, excitement coursing through him as he sensed this was the moment the past would unravel. I came to this town many years ago, the old man began, his eyes drifting to some unseen dream. Back then, I was just a young jeweler with big ideas. I wanted to create, to make pieces that told stories, not just trinkets to sell. I poured my heart into this place. It was vibrant, full of laughter, of life. And yes, we had our share of challenges, but the community came together. We celebrated every success, and shared every tear. Jackson's eyes widened, clearly imagining the lively shop bustling with friends and family. What happened? He asked, barely able to contain his enthusiasm, drawn into the enchantment of the tale. The man continued, his gaze growing distant. A tragedy, really. Greed snuck in like a thief in the night. I lost my way, began focusing on what would fill my pockets rather than my heart. I started cutting corners, ignoring the community I'd built. The more I made, the more I let the passion slip away. The sparkle faded, and slowly, the shop fell silent. People stopped coming, and with them went the stories. The memories left were heavy, like dust in the air. He paused, visibly shaken. Max could see shadows dancing across the man's face, secrets carved into his features like the jewelry he once created. I realized too late. It wasn't just my business I was losing, it was a part of my soul. A somber silence fell over the crowd. Max considered the weight of those words. Regret poured from their circumstances, yet somehow it felt like more than just heartbreak, it felt like a lesson waiting to be learned. What can we do? Carl asked, his voice cutting through the thick tension. How do we make sure that doesn't happen again? The old man's eyes sparkled with a renewed sense of purpose. Start with connections, he advised. Reach out to those who have stories. Engage the elders who remember. Invite them back. As you unlock their memories, the heart of this place will return. Building the community makes the foundation stronger than any structure. Max felt a fire ignite within him. We could hold events, invite people to share their stories, like an open mic for memories. He proposed, excitement flickering through him. We could have art classes, history nights, anything that brings people together. The man nodded slowly, appreciation twinkling in his eyes. Yes, if you ignite their passion, they will come. That's the key. Eager spirits were fed by the man's encouragement. Jackson was already buzzing with ideas, drawing them in with every word. We could even showcase local artists. People would love to see what others can create. Max felt the swell of hope growing stronger. He could almost see at the doors of the shop opening, laughter echoing within, people bustling with energy. This was their chance to reclaim the lost stories and heal the scars left behind. But as they exchanged excited chatter, the old man's expression shifted again. Just remember, rebuilding takes work. And sometimes, secrets can be tougher than bricks. You may need to confront challenges you never expected. The warning echoed in the air, heavy with unspoken fears. Max's heart raced once more. What kind of challenges? The old man hesitated, and for a moment, the silence spoke louder than words. Sometimes, it's the ghosts of the past you have to face. Not just someone else's, but your own. Max felt a chill run down his spine. What did he mean? What lay ahead for them, tangled beneath layers of hope and ambition? He realized they were standing at the brink of something monumental. Their journey was just beginning. But what would they uncover along the way? Would the past bring unity, or would it threaten to tear them apart? With that uncertainty igniting new questions, Max exchanged hopeful glances with his friends. This wasn't just about a building anymore. It was about finding themselves, together. Let us dig deep, uncover the treasures of the past, Max declared, resolve swelling in his chest. But we do it as a team. Together. The old man smiled, nodding with conviction. Then it's time to open the first box. But be ready, you might find pieces you never thought would touch your hearts. What would be revealed? What pieces of past anguish would emerge from the box that could challenge their journey? Max's pulse quickened as the old man bent down, reaching for a dusty box wedged against the wall of the shop. The air crackled with tension and an undercurrent of excitement that made each person present hold their breath. There was something electric about this moment, a blend of thrilling possibility and lingering dread. With a gentle creak, he opened the box, revealing a collection of forgotten items. The first thing that caught Max's eye was a beautiful handcrafted necklace, shimmering faintly even in the dim light. It was intricately designed, each stone set with care. This piece, the old man whispered, a softness in his voice, was meant for someone special. A wedding gift for a couple who had dreamed of a future together. And? Jackson pressed, his eyes widening. The old man looked at them, a flicker of pain darting across his features. They never got to wear it. Life had other plans. That necklace carries their hopes, their unfulfilled dreams. It became a reminder of what was lost, he said, his voice thick. Max felt a lump rise in his throat. It was never just a piece of jewelry, it was a symbol of love lost. He couldn't help but wonder how many more stories hid in the shadows of that box. One by one, they pored over the contents, each item sparking memories and conversations. A scarf, hand-knit with signs of care yet never worn. A small painting of the town, vibrant with colors, depicting a time when laughter poured from every corner. It seemed to breathe with life and echoed the warmth of community. As they examined the treasures, Carl picked up an old newspaper clipping, its edges yellowed with age. "Look at this," he said, his voice slightly trembling. "It's an article about the last festival we had before everything went downhill." Max leaned in closer as Carl read aloud. The words painted a picture of joy, unity, and hope. He could feel the energy of that day seeping through the cracks in the old paper, and for a brief moment, it was as though they could hear the laughter and cheers that had once filled the streets. But mixed with the joy was a haunting sadness that settled in the pit of Max's stomach. What if we can't bring that back? What if we open old wounds instead? He asked, voicing the doubt that was creeping into his mind. The old man looked at him, a knowing glimmer in his eyes. Sometimes, the past must be faced to make way for the future. Do not shy away from what you find. Embrace it. Max took a breath, forcing the doubt to echo further into the recesses of his mind. He was determined. They had come too far already to let fear dictate their next steps. As they finished going through the box, an idea struck Max. What if we used these pieces to tell the stories? We could create an exhibit and invite the community to share their connections to each item. It would be a way to remember and heal. The others exchanged looks, excitement building again. Yes. And maybe we could even hold a gathering where everyone could bring something significant to share. Jackson jumped in, his voice thumping with enthusiasm. But just as the ideas started to flow, the old man's countenance darkened. There is more to the story I haven't told. There's a reason these pieces were left behind. Facing the truth may not be easy, some may resist the memories of their past. Max's heart sank a little, yet his determination remained firm. We have to try. We won't know unless we reach out, right? Indeed, the old man replied. But remember, confronting the truth is sometimes the hardest journey of all. With that, they gathered their thoughts, sharing their commitment to not just dig into the past but to create something beautiful from it. Max felt a spark of camaraderie, a bond emerging between them, fueled by shared purpose. As they packed up the items to bring them back to the town hall, excitement mixed with apprehension. What if they faced opposition? What if the ghosts of the past were too strong? But they were ready to stand together, to face whatever came their way. With the plan forming in their minds, Max turned to look at the old man. What happens if we succeed? He smiled softly, a glimmer of hope nestled in his eyes. If you succeed, you may just find a way to heal the hearts of your community, your own included. But then a thought struck him. And if we fail? The old man's gaze shifted out the window into the twilight. Sometimes, in failure, there lies an unexpected truth waiting to be understood. Max felt the weight of those words settle in his chest. An unexpected truth? Did the past hold lessons buried deeper than he could imagine? What revelations awaited them as they prepared to embark on this journey? Would they be prepared for the ghosts that could surface both from their community and from within themselves? As the group made their way back into the town, their footsteps echoed against the cobbled streets, each sound imbued with newfound purpose. The old man's words lingered in the air like a melody, weaving itself into the fabric of their intentions. Max felt energy surge through him. They were on the brink of igniting a transformation that could change their lives and rekindle the spirit of Maplewood. Determined but nervous, they organized gathering spots, craft tables, and storytelling corners at the town hall. Posters scattered around town, advertising their upcoming Reclaiming Our Stories event, a beacon of resilience rising from shared experiences. Each community member flickered in the background, full of sweet anticipation while nurturing devastating scars. As days ticked by, the heavily weighted box filled with memories felt lighter. It was surprising how just touching the past could spark conversations and connect hearts, stitching together fragments of lives long neglected. Mrs. Harris crafted pies, and Jackson painted signs with messages of hope. Carl helped coordinate logistics, showing the spirit of inclusion in every aspect. Together, they became a family, united by a common goal. The day of the event dawned bright and vibrant, with sunlight spilling across the town square. Max stood before the gathering crowd, his heart pounding, feeling both nervous and excited. He looked around at the faces, neighbors, friends, and even some who had been distant. And somewhere deep in him, he felt a flame flicker. As he started to speak, a hush fell. Welcome. Today, we're reclaiming more than just the stories of our past, we're rebirthing dreams. Each of us has faced obstacles, heartaches, and hopes. But as you share today, let those burdens be lighter. Voices began to rise. Mrs. Harris shared tales of love and loss through pies, while Tommy passionately narrated the dreams that every brush stroke on his canvas held. The stories flowed like a river, washing away the remnants of resentment, igniting laughter and tears mingling freely. But as they relived tales from within their hearts, a shadow shifted at the back. It was the old man, watching quietly. Max caught his eye and nodded, inviting him to join. Slowly, the man stepped forward, revealing a fragile heart hidden behind stoic walls. He shared how generosity could paint even the heaviest past into vibrant colors, emphasizing the beauty of community over selfish ambition. Max felt weight lift. It was an exhale of healing that resonated through the crowd. In that moment, everyone connected not simply through stories but through strands of humanity shining through their vulnerabilities. And then, as the day wound to a close, a quiet hesitation settled among them. Max understood that as beautiful as it was to remember, the journey hadn't ended. We have faced shadows today, and more will come. But we stand together, willing to confront what lies ahead. Today is just the beginning of a repurposed legacy. It happened then, an urge, a call for connection. Carl stepped up as the final crowd whispers faded. How can we keep the momentum? Let us form groups to maintain this unity. We could keep sharing not just on days like this but every day. The spark flared again. The room erupted with a chorus of yes, smiles and applause surrounding him like a warm embrace. Plans rolled out naturally, laughter infecting the air as ideas bloomed. It was evident, the revival wasn't just in memories but the creation of a continuing narrative. As twilight blanketed Maplewood, Max stood by the old man, both enjoying the symphony of life bustling around them, their community reborn. Thank you, he said softly, for showing us the way through the dark. The old man smiled, understanding lighting his eyes. You needed each other more than you realized. Stories are just waiting to be told. The essence of community lives in connection. It transforms pain into power. With that, a new chapter unfolded, each member a narrator in a story woven together with unbreakable threads of courage. The beauty within Maplewood thrived, a shared purpose igniting every corner. Max felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude wash over him. They had each other, and together they would face anything. There would be challenges ahead, but they regained a heart that had once been lost to avarice. They would meet the future inspired and courageous. The stars began to shimmer above them, brighter than night had ever revealed. This is only the beginning, Max thought, embracing his community, and what a journey it will be. They hadn't just reclaimed their stories, they had reclaimed their hearts. Now, dear friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories waiting just for you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and boost more transformations like this. I want to hear your reactions, so comment below your thoughts about this beautiful ending. Don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the magic of transformation. Remember, only true fans understand the pulse of these moments.